Hello, thank you for watching. So appreciative having you here. Dr. Erickson, EHS Physical Therapy and Chiropractic, as well as the Herniated Disc Fix online program. So you are wanting some entry-level core exercises and workouts, okay? So at this point, your symptoms are at least intermittent, right? They come and go, they're not always there. You're able to overcome any kind of losses or obstructions to motion. At this point, you've also been shown, or we've worked together and you know what your directional preference is, right? So you're able to work into a specific direction, whether it's bending forward, whether it's bending backwards and standing or in lying, whether it's a side glide, some kind of movement that you know what to do. You've got specific exercises, specific stretches that controls and brings this pain if you're getting any in and out of the leg. Hopefully we want it obviously up and out, right? So we talked about centralization. Anything away and peripheral is bad. We want to bring it back up and be right here, either off to one side or right in the middle of the back. So at this point, we can now introduce and start working on some strengthening exercises, for the core muscles. So deep abs, hips, so the hips and glutes and the legs, right? So I like to start in a quadruped position, meaning hands and knees, because for most people, and this is you included, you're gonna probably like the extension movement, okay? So extension meaning the low back going backwards. So I'm gonna start in a quadruped position, meaning I'm in hands and knees, and I like to kind of go from rocking back from a bit of a child's pose this way to get a little bit of stretching and movement through that lower back, a little bit of flexion, and then ending in through extension in lying or this high kind of cobra pose through here, okay? So that extension in lying, to be fair, this is not necessarily a core exercise, okay? I'm just using this as more of a warm-up to start, and I like being in this position. So from here, we'll get a little bit of pumping or a little bit of rocking back and forth of that lumbar spine. So back into that child's pose, pushing back, letting the hips really go towards the heels, a little bit of flexion, and then coming into extension, really letting that lower back extend. Be mindful and be aware of any changes or symptoms at all that you feel either in the back or in the leg, okay? So from there, I would do a good 8 to 10 repetitions of that with a light little pause at the very end range of each. So 4 or 5 seconds at the end there, 4 or 5 seconds, back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out and then let through here, let that really sag, no glute action, no hips or strengthening in the abs, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then come back to hands and knees, square, like a tabletop, okay? We're not gonna be overly sagged down, and we're not gonna be overly arched back up this way. Right in neutral, and then we're gonna go right into a bird dog. So if you're really having trouble with the balance part, start with just one arm, okay? Or just one leg. And really make yourself very much, very straight. And this one, we are now transitioning to working on muscles. So the other ones, not much, but this one for sure, we're working on some muscles of the core and the hips. If you feel okay with either one arm or one leg, then move to opposite arm, opposite leg. So in this demonstration, I'm gonna do right arm, left leg. And I'm gonna hold them out straight. My body feels like it wants to fall to one side, but I'm concentrating and I'm contracting my muscles in my abs and in my body to keep myself straight. And I'm purposefully, intentionally going slow and controlled with these, and I'm feeling that glute muscle activate, that lower back muscle activate, okay? I'm feeling my abs activate, my lats and my shoulder muscles activate, all these things, okay? So back and forth, slowly and predictably, and purposefully, slow and controlled, okay? So I would do 10 to 12 of that one first. That's that, call it like a bird dog, okay? So opposite arm and leg. That's the first one I would start with after that position. Then I would roll to my back. So in this position, I'm gonna come down to my back with my knees bent slightly in what's called a hook lying position. My back nice and flat against the mat in this case, so not too much arch this way. And I don't want to be too, rolled up. I want to be just flat against there. And then we're going to go with a dead bug. So in a dead bug, we want to kind of do a little bit of a marching thing. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to bring this leg up and this arm back at the same time, okay? Like that, right? Up through here. So I got that all 90 in the ankle, 90, 90, okay? And then back, and then the other leg, right? So I got all those through there. Again, purposefully, intentionally, slow and controlled. I'm activating my lower abs, my hip flexors, my middle and upper abs. I'm using some lats, right, in the back. Okay, I'm contracting right through there. So that's a little bit of a dead bug exercise would be next, and then I'd go to an isometric push and hold. So now again, I'm gonna flatten that lower back a little bit and get those abs kicked in. I'm gonna bring one leg up, 90 degrees, ankle, knee, hip, and I'm gonna place my hands in front of my thigh here. And I'm gonna pull my leg this way, and my hands are gonna push against that and stop it, okay? So we're gonna push and hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm gonna switch, other leg up, pushing and holding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I feel my abs contract, my hip flexors contract, my triceps and chest muscles to hold. I also feel my opposite leg and heel kind of pushing into the ground slightly and activating the hamstrings and glutes. So we're getting all of these things to work together, right, in kind of concerted connection and kick in some of those muscles along the lower body and abs. Okay, good core work there. So that's the lower ab push and hold again. Probably 10, 12, per side, holding for a good 4 to 5 seconds, all right? And then I'm gonna go into a nice, easy lower trunk rotation. So I'm gonna purposefully let my upper body stay grounded and flat. And I'm gonna let my knees fall to the right, and I'm gonna keep that shoulder as pinned as I can back there and get a little bit of a stretch, but I'm also controlling that with my abs, going slow, abs, 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 to the other side, okay? I feel it right in my right lower back. I also feel a stretch in my chest muscle. Then I'm gonna come up, keeping my knees and feet together. I'm gonna go the other way. Breathing out. Now I feel a stretch in the left pec, right through here, abs, lower back. So this one again is slow and controlled, making sure you're using the ab muscles to rotate side to side, okay? So lower trunk, rotation. Same number of reps. Actually, in this I'd probably do a few more reps, probably around 12 to 16, somewhere in there each side. Okay, then from there, since we're still on our back, I'll go to a bridge. So I would start with a two-legged bridge first. So we're here, digging the heels into the ground or the mat, and then I'm gonna contract the glutes and the hamstrings. I'm gonna press my belt or my hips up to the ceiling, okay? So I'm getting a nice straight, almost plank, this way. Holding up, 1, 2, 3, contracting those glutes, and then down slow, okay? All right, pushing up and through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would hold these again. Remember, this is the first time we're doing some of these movements, so go slow and monitor what's happening in the back or the leg. And I should have mentioned this even earlier, but please, if you feel something in the leg while you're doing the motion, right? So I come up, my glutes contracted, I'm feeling a little bit of leg symptoms right through here. Okay, it's there. It turns out a little bit, 2 or 3 out of 10. But when I come back down and I stop, nope, back to 0. That's not wrong. That's not a red light to stop this movement. That's a yellow light to just be aware of what's happening and the changes, but it's a continue. Keep going unless it produces the leg and stays, remains worse. But more than likely, as you keep working them, it will get easier and that pain will become less and less with more repetitions. That's just usually how this happens. But that's what you have to be aware of
where the true better and worse is. Producing a pain that goes away very quickly is not a worsening. It's just a yellow light. Be aware of it, but continue on. Okay. Let's go. So I would go two-legged bridges. If you're so inclined and you feel like it's really feeling good, you could go to this other, one leg, 90-90 tight through here, and then go a single leg bridge. This is tougher because now my hips want to fall, they want to dip this way, but I'm not going to let them because I'm working on my core. I'm keeping everything tight through here. This wants to dip, but I'm not going to let it, right? So I could go a single leg bridge would be the next progression. That's definitely harder than two-legged. So start with two, work to one. Okay, then we're going to go to a side plank from knees. So at this point, we've done a few on hands and knees. We've done a few on our back. So that's mostly in this what's called this sagittal plane. And this is where the majority of our injuries take place, and actually a majority of the treatments that fix them take place in this sagittal plane. So we spend a lot of time doing that. We bend a lot, and we go this way a lot. We don't as often go this way. But we are going to kick it in. So let's go side plank. So I'm going to go elbow underneath my shoulder. I'm going to start from my knees. So I'm going to extend my knees back so my hips are fairly straight through here. And then I'm going to lift this hip up, and I'm just going to hold in a side plank. So we go side plank from knees would be the first progression. We want to start nice and easy through here, okay? Holding 15, 20 seconds at a time, and then come back down. Let's do 4 or 5 per side. We don't need to do quite as many of these repetitions-wise because we're holding them for longer. It's more of a sustained thing, okay? So we'll hold a good 15, 20 seconds per side. You feel the ab muscles kicking in. You feel the shoulder and the lats and the chest muscles working on the arm that's down, all right? And let's just make sure that we do both sides. You can either flip. I'm going to just turn this way to stay square to the camera. But you come to the other side again, elbow underneath your shoulder. Okay, hips kind of forward. So you get that, and then bend the knees, and then you're putting up pressure this way, holding. Okay, still breathe. So you can stay contracted and still be able to breathe. You don't want to have such a contraction that you can't, breathe breathe normally and have a conversation like we're having right now. So I can still do these and still have a conversation while I'm still working my muscles, okay? So side plank from the knees is that next, things from the side. Then I would go back to the sagittal plane, and we're going to start working our way up off the mat. That was plenty of things to do in an unloaded position. Unloaded meaning gravity and our body weight is being supported by the ground. Let's start to support some more weight through our legs and arms, okay? So I'm going to do a modified mountain climber, where I'm going to move this to flat. And instead of a mountain climber on the ground, let's start with a little bit up in the air this way here. So I'm going to come into a tall plank position, kind of like a push-up position. And even just being in here, you're going to work your abs and your core muscles from being in this position. And then slowly draw one knee up at a time, like a mountain climber exercise, okay? We don't need to go fast yet. And you can use this one, if you go quickly, as kind of a cardio type movement, right? Quick, and do lots of them. But that's not what we're here for in this situation. We're not here for the cardio. We're here to feel how our body responds to kicking in some of these muscles in the glutes and the core and the abs, okay? So let's get these modified mountain climbers in right here. Probably a good 15 to 20, let's do 20, 10 per knee. They still go pretty quick, even when you're just going nice and controlled. Let's do 20 of those, okay? Mountain climber. So then we're going to move on to what I would call we want to work from assisted to unassisted to resisted. So right now I'm going to go with an assisted squat, okay? And I'm going to use the TRX bands. So the TRX band is something that's very nice to have. You don't have to have one. You could use the edge of a countertop, or something to hang on to, something that's stable, a kitchen sink, a ledge. But I'm going to use the TRX bands. So these are very nice to have. I'll include a link
in the description for you to get them if you don't have them, but they're very nice to have. You can do a lot of exercises on these. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and use the TRX bands as an assist to support myself. My arms can help me, so it's actually less than body weight. It's easier than doing a body weight squat. My feet are gonna be fairly wide, just over shoulder width apart. I'm gonna stand tall. I'm gonna work on sitting, my weight's kind of on my heels, my toes can kind of lift up. Now I'm gonna sit back and down. Okay, like I'm gonna sit in a chair to about 90 degrees, and my arms can help me come back up. Now even if I don't wanna sit that far back to begin with, I can just maybe go just baby squats. Let's just do some nice little initial like half squats, mini ones, and my arms are still here to help. It helps me with balance, it helps me with pulling back up. Let's just see how the lower back and the legs respond to repeated squats. More than likely, this will feel pretty good. So I would err on the side of lots of reps for this one, 20, 25, 30 reps. You can break it up though into like sets of 3 of 10, 2 of 15, but then always after you're done, always reassess. Okay, how do I feel? Where are my symptoms? Anything in the leg? No. Do I still have good, motion? Do I feel obstructed or blocked in any way? No. Okay, continue on. If you were to feel, worse of some kind or obstructed or blocked, go back to the movement that you know how to do that helps reduce that. Whether it's the one on the mat face down and pressing up into extension, whether it's the knees to chest, whatever it was that you've been using to help reduce that pain in the leg, go back to that one if these were to bother you. Remember, a little bit of pain or like soreness or like ache while I'm doing it, but then within seconds, no, it's no worse as soon as I'm done. That's not a worsening. Continue on, okay? Then we can also work on a bit of a hip hinge exercise with the TRX. This is gonna introduce us as we get closer to returning to things like deadlifts. So when I'm here, I'm gonna practice keeping my head, middle back, and lower back in alignment. And I wanna practice on pushing the hips backwards and working into that hip hinge. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like push my butt backwards. But again, my hands are here to help me. I'm gonna push backwards and then come back up into extension through here using those muscles. So keeping everything tight, hinging from more of the hips and less of the knees. Squat is more knees and hips. This one is definitely more hip hinging and less knees and more glutes, right? And you'll feel a tension or a strain in those hamstrings, and that's okay. Especially if you had that injury, it may feel like it needs to be stretched anyway. It's not tight. I know it feels like it needs to be stretched, but that's not the problem. It's just a residual sensation and tightness from that nerve root injury back up in the leg. So it generally feels good to stretch it and to use it, and it might feel like it's loosening up and kind of gaining some range of motion as you do it. So because you're already in that healing phase, there may be some scar tissue that has developed and we actually need to remodel that, okay? So that was the two on the TRX, the assisted that I wanted to do. The only last one that I had, I think, let me look here real quick. So I wanted to start with a little bit of offset. So everything we've done so far has been very like together. It's either opposite arm, opposite leg, together. We haven't done anything offset that's gonna put us in this movement yet, aside from we did the plank. Was the only one that we did that was sideways. The rest have all been pretty much straight ahead. So let's do a little bit of a side plank one. I'm gonna choose a very light weight, nothing too much at all, because that's not the point at this phase in the game. It's not about the weight, so this is less than 20 pounds, about 15 pounds. And I'm going to do an offset, so only on one side, because remember, my body wants to fall this way, but I have to contract these muscles to keep me vertical, okay? So contraction, and I'm gonna work on alternating a march in a suitcase carry. So as I work on this, I have to contract these muscles, and even here, my body wants to fall over. So by contracting the abs and the core muscles, and I work on an alternating march with a suitcase carry, this is a very good exercise. Then you just got to switch sides after about 10 on that side. Then I'm going to switch sides to my left side to balance things out. And I'm going to do an alternating march with a little bit of an offset suitcase carry, okay? So those are all the exercises that I would use, that I want you to use when you're at this phase in the healing and rehab process. Remember, we break it down into 3 phases. The repair phase, then we go to that rebuild phase, then we go to the reinforce. When the reinforce phase, we're gonna obviously progress a lot of the weights and exercises and make them a lot tougher and you get a lot stronger. Right now, you're right on the edge of that repair to rebuild phase. We wanna start to rebuild the healing tissues, increase their tolerance to movement, increase their tolerance to activity, increase their tolerance to load. So these are all very good exercises to start with, and still stay with your other, repeated movement that you use at home. But this is where we want to start to transition from repair to rebuild. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll catch you on the next video.